everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our weekly Cash or Trash. This is the video where we look at the hot comics of this past week and we make predictions sure to go wrong for 6 months from now. Looked like I had my man GT Key in here tailgating. What is going on? Gordon was in here. Yes, at last he did invest in a Man Web issue. You're better off if you didn't invest in it 2 years ago or whenever it first started getting hot and people first started chasing those books. But we'll talk about those. Bob's your uncle. What's going on? There's GT Key back and in here. This is Cash or Trash. That's a little bit of an odd time for me. Normally I do this a little later on Monday. Well, we've just recently kind of shifted it to Mondays. And normally it's a little later in the evening. But the Chiefs play the Eagles tonight. And I'm going to try to watch that game. I'll be honest. Some of you may realize if you watch my channel regularly, you know that I've been sick over the last week. I am still not 100%. I did work today from home, which was nice that I can do that. And but I'm probably going to do this video and then take the dog out and then go lay in bed and watch as much of the Chiefs game as I can stay awake for because I'm still super tired. Even though I otherwise feel pretty good. I just don't have a lot of energy yet. Black Knight, what is going on, my friend? So luckily, we only have 13 books to talk about, so we're going to get to this fairly quickly. But what exactly are we doing here? So as you know, or as you may or may not know, I do a video on Saturdays, a look-back video, hot comics 6 months later, where I look back at the hot comics from 6 months ago and I see how they performed in the market since they were quote unquote hot. And we see how they do. This video, we look at the hot comics from this past week and we make predictions for that 6 month video. And then sometimes we talk about books in terms beyond just those 6 months. But that's sort of the point of this, is to make those predictions. Hey, he who remains, what is going on? Man, people fighting through his own illness. Well, I'm mostly better. I'm still a little stuffy and I'm not tons energy, but I'm way better than I was even yesterday at this time. So Sunday was a bit of a step back. Saturday I felt better, and then Sunday I took a step back, and then today I feel better again. So hopefully we're on the full road to recovery at this point. So how do we make those predictions for 6 months from now? Well, we throw them into categories of what we think is going to kind of happen. We don't make strict financial predictions. We throw them into categories. We got our straight cash. How many books do we think are going to continue to increase in value? We don't usually make a lot of predictions for this for 6 months because if you have a super hot book, odds are it's probably a little higher than it should be at that moment because of whatever hot reason is, and it's going to go down a little bit or stabilize. It doesn't usually continue to trend up through a hot, but sometimes it does. Most of the straight cash books we're talking about books that are just, 2 years from now are going to be monsters, that kind of thing, or continue to be, or already monsters, and then they'll continue to go up long term. Worth it. Books that are priced about right. Well, I'm just going to say, you guys can tell I'm tired because even for me, that description of straight cash was really bad. So anyway, worth it. Books that are priced about right. And 6 months from now, you're not going to be any worse off for paying what you're paying right now. In fact, you may gain a little bit, but yeah, the books are priced about right. We got our I'll Be Back books that are flip side of that worth it. They're not way overpriced, but if you're patient, you'll probably get a little better deal than what you can get right now. Traps, these are books that are going to drop 30, 40, 50%. These are books that are way overpriced because of whatever news or event is happening. And so they're definitely books you want to come back later for. Then, of course, our dumpster fires. These are books that are 60, 70, 80% overpriced. These are books that just don't have nearly the intrinsic value that they're going for at the moment, that people are overpaying, overchasing something based on hype. Occasionally we'll throw in, whatever. Tom will put a book on there that's not really going for that much, but there's a lot of sales because of some news, and it's like, you buy in, whatever. And then occasionally we'll also have a come on, man, as just the logic is not good behind why people are chasing that book. All right. Let's see who else has hopped in here. Mr. Ramman. Oh, man, get out of here. Get out of here. With your Eagles, I tell you. Hey, Gordon is back. Welcome, sir. Wait, you're a Steelers fan, or you're saying go Eagles? What? I can't imagine. That seems wrong. Hey, Brian, Arizona, what's going on? Jump in for 10 minutes while you're on your break. Well, hopefully we'll get through most of these books in 10 minutes. So please do the Cowboys favor. We're going to try. We're going to try. So not that I, want to necessarily do a Cowboys fan a favor, but we're going to try tonight. Tonight we'll work with you. All right, so let's dig into these books, see what we can learn. Only 13 books, a lot of overlap between the two lists. This is maybe the most overlap I've seen in the last couple of years between the two lists. First up, okay. All right. From Pittsburgh, but been living in Philly long enough. I get it. That makes a little more sense. We got The Alien Legion, #1. So we got rumors that this is being adapted into by the guy who was the director on Deadpool into like a universe, a series. Not 100% sure. I think a series of movies, maybe, by Warner Brothers. Raw copies 5 to 20. So not a huge, not a huge value. The low end you can still is not that crazy. 9.8, 150, but odds are this is going to be a while. So if you're paying 20, this is a trap. If you're paying 5, it's obviously not. It's probably fine. But if you're paying like $20 for a copy of this, I think that's definitely a trap. Which is just, because it's option news. We got rumors they're going to start working on this. Who knows how long that's going to be. And the odds of this holding value in the meantime seem to be pretty slim to me. Russ talked about, you could probably find this in 50-cent bins all day long. I would guess that is probably the case. This was a book that was on both lists. I would, yeah. I mean, the low end, if you're paying under $10 for anything, you're probably fine. But if you're paying 20, then you're definitely overpaying, I think, for this book. What are the teams playing? The Chiefs and the Eagles are tonight, TJ. Welcome, sir. Quarter bin book. Yeah, this is a book I would definitely not. I think even at 10, you're probably paying too much. But it's hard to buy online and pay anything less than 10 by the time you factor in shipping. It just really is. So, all right, next we got Sandman, #25. The Dead Boy Detectives are back again. This is first appearance Dead Boy Detectives. So after a bunch of this is going to happen, this is not going to happen, it was happening, then WB doesn't want it no more, or no, HBO, which is Warner Brothers, doesn't want it no more. Ended up finding a home at Netflix. They released the trailer, which works out good because regular Sandman series is on Netflix. This can be on Netflix. I don't know if they'll actually tie them together at any point or not, but this was going raw copies $20, a 9.6 only 100. The last 9.8 sale was way back in like April, so that really isn't relevant. And I don't care about that message that just popped up on my phone. But yeah, so Dead Boy Detectives, but at $20 for raw copy, that's not really. This book is kind of just sat around $20 for a long time. Maybe you can do a little better. I guess I would call this an I'll Be Back just because there's series in the trailer right now, which means it's probably going to take a slight step back. But average sales of 20. That's really fairly reasonable. I think you could probably get this for 10 to 15 after the show comes and goes. Nothing where Eagle. Well, they don't do that. They don't have that anymore. They used to have a guy who, but they now have a wolf as the mascot. I don't know. They got rid of War Paint and the Indian Rider a long time ago now. I don't think they've had them since maybe the 90s. Now we have a fluffy wolf mascot guy. So hey, Blue Collar Dan, what's going on? Pass. Yeah. Something was originally moved. Okay. Nice. I think this is a comeback later. I would come back later. I think you could probably do better than what it's doing right now, but not a lot. It's just not. And I feel like this is going to be a case. You guys, I feel like I'm kind of a wimp this week as we go through these books. You'll see why, but there's a lot of I'll be backs because things just aren't that high to begin with. I'm wondering, when I'm going to have to adjust for the fact that the market itself has bottomed out so much that it's just some of these books, even though there's news right now, are going to be a little bit higher or hold their own better because there's just no floor to go to. Like they're just not going to go much lower than where they're at, even though they're hot at the moment. It's hot from a sales standpoint, but the values are still in the basement. It'll be interesting to see. So I didn't even know that. I don't think I'd heard anything about it. So that's probably why. I didn't even know that was out. So there you go. Next, we got Black Panther number 6, the Doaly, 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 1 in 25. This 1 in 25 is going for 60 to 100, which is really good for a 1 in 25 first week. We only got a couple covers this week, and this is one of them. 60 to 100 for 1 in 25, which is right around that triple ratio, triple to quadruple, although a few sales between double and triple there. So it's a pretty wide range. That's usually that used to be a pretty good sign. But now I don't see it. And that hasn't actually held as well as it used to. My guess is this ends up being down around double ratio, 40, $50, maybe 40, 60, so if you pay the 60, you're probably okay. But if you're paying 80, 90, 100, that's a trap, on this one, I think. It is a nice cover. I do like it, but I don't see it holding. I would be very much surprised. So we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong on that. And maybe there's not enough 1 in 25 that it ends up being limited enough that it actually holds better than I think. But we'll see. Just for this one, I'm going mostly more on what I've seen the pattern be on these 1 in 25s that have gotten in this range. And I feel like it's probably going to hold really well for 1 in 25, which at 40, 50 to 60 would be really good value for 1 in 25 if you got it at the 25. But I don't think it's going to hold the upper end of what it's doing right now. Key issue for a first king. Oh, see, I did not actually know that this was a first appearance. They did not mention that on CBSI, and I did not look that up. So maybe instead of going trap, I go, I'll be back. We'll stick with the trap. We'll see what happens. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So there you go. Based on the cover itself, I think trap. Maybe the first appearance helps it a little bit, but I'll be surprised if it helps it that much. Next, Fantastic Four number 13, Art Adams 1 in 25. So it's not an Art Adams girl with just a close-up of a face and boobs. But man, I really just don't like Art Adams. I think so. If you're an Art Adams fan, there's no reason to be like defensive. He's just not for me. I do not like this drawing of Galactus at all. I don't think most of those girls are sexy that he draws. There's just something about his style that doesn't work for me. If it works for you, I think that's fantastic. It does not work for me. But this 1 in 25 is only doing ratio to double ratio. It's only a $25 to $50 book. That's a trap. That's a book that's going to end up under ratio almost every time, unless it makes a huge jump week 2. That's a trap because of the prices, not because of the cover itself. He's saying pretty average for Art Adams. The boobs, right? And I don't even, I think he draws boobs fine, but as far as faces, I'm not a huge fan. Yeah, I'm just not a huge fan. And so that's just a taste preference for me. But so we're going to take my taste out of it. Just look at the value of what you're getting for this 1 in 25, and the values you're getting right now screams trap for in 6 months. So next, all right, we're moving into DC. We got The Authority. So we got casting announcements for the Engineer and I think some others, but that was the one they were talking about here. So this Authority number 1. I think maybe this character is going to appear in the Superman movie. It's actually the casting, but it's an Authority character. And their first appearance is here. Raw copies 30 to 55, 9.82 to 300. This is already down from when it spiked originally when all the James Gunn stuff came out. It had already dropped after that all the way back down to like $35. Now it's a $30 to $55 book. So it's starting to move back up a little bit. The 9.8 moved back up a little bit. They had dropped significantly. But we're not getting that movie now. It's been pushed back. We won't have it in 6 months. I think this is an I'll be back. I think it drops back down to like where it was, that 35 that it was sitting in the in-between time. My guess is that's going to be kind of your high end on this in 6 months. I'm sure we'll get more news periodically through there that there might be a bump when I do the values right at 6 months, but I'm saying I'll be back. You'll be able to find deals between now and when this movie comes out if you want it. And I'll be honest, the way we're seeing spec books react when the project's actually released and everything else right now, that if you didn't have it before the initial announcement, there's really no good time to buy it and try to flip it. There just isn't. If you didn't have it initially, if you weren't on an initial and flipped it on the initial, there's really just not a lot of bumps you're going to get. But anyway, for the Black Panther first appearance of King Metallic. Okay, interesting. Coaching for the last 15 years. Yeah, well, must be nice to be able to do that. Hey, Kenneth, what's going on? All right, later playing in Arizona. We'll see ya. Yes, that's the room. That's the story. That's the story. So, Hoarder's Eye coming in going trash. So, all right. So we're moving on the Authority. We got Young Avengers #1. Let's just say, no spoilers. Kate's back in the news, and obviously they're supposedly moving toward a Young Avengers project still. This book's now a $100 book, 9.8288. This book, I've been doing this for 5 years. This book has been the ultimate roller coaster. This book has been up, down, and everything in between, based on spec on Kate Bishop before she appeared, and some of these other characters. And then she appeared, and then the book crashed. R.I.P. superhero movies. And I have not got to see the Marvels yet. I want to see it. I think it looked like fun. I don't know that it's going to be great, but I think it looked like fun. But I've been sick, so I haven't been able to do anything. But so hopefully I'll get to see it this week sometime. So at least that's my hope. But I don't think that's the case. They made billions and billions of dollars. The touchdown line was Endgame and Infinity War. Now they've tried to keep it going after they made more money than anybody would have thought possible, and they haven't done as well in this transition era when they tried to transition away from those original characters. They haven't done as well. They haven't been as consistent. The storytelling hasn't been as good. The characters are somewhat a little tougher sell, particularly given current politics. So there's people that decide they hate these movies before they ever see them. So they got that going, working against them. And I think it's been a hard sell since. And there's no way they could ever live up to what they did on a consistent movie to movie basis. Where I think they screwed up is I do think they oversaturated the market. They try to do rather than do, because they just kept making money and money and money and money and money, and every movie kept getting bigger and bigger, and they were like, oh, when there should have been some self-awareness of that can't continue forever. So you got to pick your spots a little bit better than they have. They've done a poor job of picking their spots in terms of how much product they put out, which products they put into it. And I don't think they've done as well in the writer's room as they were before. And all of those things have combined. Some of these movies are really good and compare favorably to many of the movies, in my opinion, many of the movies we got in the first couple of phases. There's some duds in those first couple of phases. I'm sorry, there really are. The wrap-up was unbelievably good, and it made up for a lot of the duds that happened beforehand. But there's been more duds because there's been more product. That's my personal opinion. So that's my personal opinion. Is they just have not, they tried to saturate the market instead of continuing to just focus and make sure everything was as good as it needed to be. And this is also a good point. Yep. Just make sure that every story is a good story, and they'll find their way. So, somebody agree with me. I'll take it. So anyway, this has been a roller coaster. At 100 and 300 for 9.8. That's pretty much on the very low end of where the roller coaster has been. So I realize this is probably a little bit of a bump back up. I think this is actually worth it because I think ultimately, and I realize there's a lot of these out there, but ultimately I feel like this is, from what I've been watching, I think we're on the low end on this book. And even without news or anything else, this book is going to creep up a little bit. There's enough here. We know we're going to get stuff. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the floor is still lower. I don't think it's lower. I think this is probably in the range of where this book is. And it's probably going to have a little bit higher. Maybe you can slide in and get an I'll be back kind of deal. That's just my personal feeling on this book. This book has enough history at this point. There's enough first appearances here, enough different characters. I feel like we're probably around what the floor is on this book at a little under $300 for 9.8. I don't think if you buy in at $275 on a 9.8 on this sucker, I don't think 5 years from now you're going to regret it. I'm not even sure a year from now you're going to regret it. Maybe in 6 months, but I think you're probably pretty close to where this book needs to be. Next book I personally love. I have a signed 9.8 newsstand of this, so I love this book. First appearance of Binary. I'm a big Carol fan. Again, looking forward to seeing the movie. I've obviously, some things have been spoiled for me. It's been 2 weeks. It happens. I've been sick. And I've had nothing to do but like mess around on my phone or the internet or read. So yeah. So let's just say I know there's a reason why this book's hitting the list. 30 to 80 on a raw copy, 9.8, 255 for direct. Now 725 news, that's really high for a 9.8 on a newsstand. I put this as an I'll be back, not a trap, and I'll be back. Because this book basically, despite all the Carol, like this book obviously was once higher than this, like everything else, but there's been a lot of Carol hate. There's been a lot of suppression of her books and her keys and the value. And despite all of that, because of the hate toward Brie Larson and everything else, this book has never been much less than what it is right now. Now, the newsstand has been much less than that 725. It's been down closer to where the direct was. But the direct has always been a 200-ish to maybe 175, 9.8, 200 to 250 kind of 9.8. It's always been kind of in the range it's in right now. So I would put this as a bit of an I'll be back, but this is one I also think is kind of worth it just because avoiding the newsstand, I think this is probably worth it because this is kind of where this book has just been. And this is going all the way back to, gosh, that was 2018. Was it spring of 2018? Yeah, that was spring of 2018 when I got that book signed. And I bought a raw copy, and it turned out to be the guy lied to me. But I paid like $40 for what I thought was a 9.8 then, and that was about right. And then like a high grade copy. And like this is just kind of where this book sits, in my personal opinion. So we'll see. Maybe it's a little higher. And yeah, horrible book. Somebody, thank you for this book, sir. Thank you. I know it's about there's definitely some of that. Yeah, for sure. All right, next. We got Prelude to Deadpool Corpse number 3. So we got confirmation we're getting Dogpool. This is the first appearance of Dogpool. My dog is going to start making noise, I think. He just woke up. I think he needs to go outside. It's a little early yet, dude. $10. So I'm kind of like whatever on the $10 thing, but it's probably still an I'll be back. We're far enough from this movie. Go look and see what Pizza Dog and what those books plummeted once those characters came and went. Even though I think the dog first appearances are fun. Yeah, I think it's just come back later for sure. Which one? I was doing back on the movies. They got my books. There you go. Did Scott ever date Carol Dan? I don't think so. I assume you mean Scott Lang? I don't think Scott did. Or maybe I'm confused about who he's talking about. I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember Scott being one. They had Pete date her for a while, but very briefly. And yeah, if they did, I don't remember it. It's like probably like late 80s or something, or maybe early 90s, and I don't remember it. But all right, next. Moving into all the Sony Spider stuff. The Madam Web stuff. This is all Madam Web. Rest of the list. I'm pretty consistent here on my. I'm just going to tell you a spoiler alert. All of these I put as I'll be back because none of them are really again much higher than where they've mostly sat. But my expectation is this movie's going to be so bad. All these books are basically going to get. My recommendation for any of these books related to the Madam Web movie is between a month to 6 months after the movie has released. These books will be as cheap as they've ever been because that movie will have wrecked their value as much as it possibly can. And if you care about any of these characters from a comic standpoint, that's the time to buy them. Oh, God, I hope not. He's the worst. Great cover. I have no idea what they're doing in this character. Even Tom. Yeah, everybody's back. The trailer is just confusing. Maybe there's a movie in there that's good, but that trailer doesn't sell you on a movie in there that's good. So anyway, this is the first appearance of Ezekiel Sims, who appears to be our bad guy, who appears to be crossed with the other character that first appears here, which is Morlun. They are not, although Tom was a little confusing in the way they even talked about it, they are not the same dude. Ezekiel Sims and Morlun are not the same dude. Morlun is an inheritor. He's the vampire-like guy. Ezekiel Sims is an old guy with spider powers. This is a $30 to $45 book right now, 9.8, 130 to 160. For longest time, even before the rumors of the Madam Web movie, this was a $20 to $40 book. 9.8, we're sitting around 200. It's actually been down already. It had already dropped back anyway. It's super down right now, even though it's kind of bounced back a little bit here just because of this weird trailer. But yeah, my guess is if you want this book and you don't have it, come back in July of next year. That'll be after the movie. So fascinating states. Hey Dwayne, what's going on? Marvel didn't sign off on this. Sony has the rights. Marvel doesn't have to sign off on anything. Sony has all the rights to the Spider-Verse. Sony has to sign off on Marvel using any Spider characters. It's the other way. Sony bought the rights to Spiders back in the 90s, and they ain't giving them back. That's why they keep making all these, because they have to make movies in order to maintain the rights. That's why they keep making all this crap. Yeah. He's not wrong. Mojo is not wrong. Even if the movie's actually really good, the values are going to crash after the movie, for sure. So, again, Marvel has no say, Dwayne. Yeah, as Unruly's saying. They have no say right now. That would be good. That'd be decent. There's been talk about that. Well, so if anyone buys Sony, anyone, because Sony Picture has been planning to sell Sony Pictures for a while now, but no one will buy Sony Pictures for what it's worth, because the moment Sony sells Sony Pictures, the rights for Spider-Man, which is Sony Pictures' biggest rights deal, goes back to Marvel. So whoever buys Sony Pictures doesn't get it. So that's why they can't even sell Sony Pictures. It's a cluster. It's a cluster. I mean, at least the Sony Pictures thing, because they're really just paying for the Spider-Man rights, and they're just waiting for Sony to give it up. But anyway, all right, let's move past Morlun and Ezekiel. Maddie Franklin. This is not Maddie Franklin's first appearance. Okay, Tom said that during the thing, or Russ said that. This is her first appearance as Spider-Woman, but she actually appears during the Gathering of Four, which was actually right before they ended, right at the end of ASM Volume 1, those last couple issues. I forget which book she actually appears in now, but this is not her first appearance, but this is her first appearance as Spider-Woman. It's the third Spider-Woman. There's also Charlotte Whittier, the fourth Spider-Woman, also appears for the first time here, who is the granddaughter of Madam Web, but is a villain. Anyway, they both appear here, but this is not Maddie Franklin's first appearance. This is Maddie Franklin's first appearance as Spider-Woman. 15 to 25, 9.800. This book has been about like a $10 to $15 book, so obviously it's a little high at the moment. 9.8 have always been like under $100. They're cheap. There's not that many of them out there. This isn't I'll Be Back also. Come back later. Yeah. Next. Character I believe in a little more because she's not currently, Maddie Franklin's currently dead in the comics. It's part of that. And it has been for a while. She died when the original Madam Web died. And Julia took over as Madam Web. So that part of that same storyline. So Maddie hasn't been around for a long time. This is first appearance of Anya Corzone, Aranya, who became Spider-Girl, who's back to being called Aranya in the comics. 25 to 40, 125 to 150. This book was higher than this, even when there was first rumors about her. This is back up to basically kind of where it was before there were any rumors about the character, maybe a little higher. Again, I think this is going to hit rock bottom a little after this movie comes out, and that's when I would get it. So another I'll Be Back. There are way too many and they just keep adding more. We got Spider-Boy now. Keep going with the Spider people. Real Superhero, Secret Wars, number 7, first appearance of Julia Carpenter, the second Spider-Woman. And current Madam Web in the comics. 20 to 25, 9.8, 225, 250. That's actually, again, down from where it's been in the past. This has been about there's first Julia Carpenter, there's first Titania here. This has been a $20 book anyway. Again, these values aren't crazy high from what they just are, but I would come back after the movie tanks because I have the feeling it's going to tank. So, but this is an I'll Be Back. But yeah, these aren't crazy prices if you buy it now long term, because these aren't that far off from where the long term values are for any of these books that we've just talked about. And then last but not least, this book has taken a tumble. Spider-Boy's all right, though. There you go. Yeah, that's what happens is they all get lost. Aranya's mostly gotten lost, and I actually like her as a character. She's one of the ones I like more than most, for sure. The market's flooded, and yeah, and I totally get it. So it's hard to move these books right now. Raw copy 75 to 150, 9.8, 900. This was at one point a $2,500 9.8 when these rumors first started. That's how far down these books already are. But I would guess the floor is even lower when the movie comes out. I really just expect the floor to be even lower. So that's my take. This is lasting longer than I originally intended. I'm going to get off of here. So all of these Madam Web stuff, I would just come back later for. I don't put any of them as a trap. I don't know that they'll crash that much because they're already kind of low compared to really where they've traditionally sat. But I would definitely not chase any Madam Web books until that movie comes and goes. And 3 months after that movie is gone, those books will be as cheap as they've ever been. Because there's going to be a bunch of people that have slabbed those books over the last couple of years in the lead up that are going to be like our friend He Who Remains, trying to sell them, and they're not going to get them sold right now or in the lead up to the movie, and they're going to be trying to dump them after. Just what it is. Yeah, I don't see Julia. I don't see any of these characters taking off because the Sony has done such a bad job with their adaptations of the live action stuff. The game is upon us. Yes. I mean, it's the same character name, but yeah, obviously she's a very different version. So, thank you, He Remains. I appreciate it. Yeah, a lot of people did. It's it's a bloodbath if you jumped in 21. All right, gang. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. You're the best. I'm gonna hopefully feel better. Next time you see me, I'll be hopefully back to normal. But we're getting there. We're closer. One step closer. So, all right, I'm gonna get out of here. Later, everybody.